we fell asleep because we were, again, very tired. By 3 o'clock that day, we were woken up by a foot in the door. A guy came in and said, you're in for interview. So he took one guy from our group. I went, and then the next guy. So they took us for interview 2 times, each one of us. And all of a sudden, the guy could not believe how we can cross Romania, escape with no help from outside, and make it alive in Yugoslavia. And they thought they need to catch the leader of the ring so they can put him in jail. So Constantine, my cousin, had a moment of guidance from the Lord, and he said, listen, we are Christians. We pray to God, and here's the miracles that God did for us yesterday, and this is how we made it to here. At the end of his testimony, the guy, we saw a tear coming off the eye, and he said, I believe you now. So they took us to the judgment hall. They punished us for 20 days in jail because we were with no passport in a foreign country. And after those 20 days, we traveled to close to Belgrade in Badinska Skela, most of you know, where we waited another 12 days to be transported to Italy or Austria. Without too many details, I want to bring one more comment. When the day arrived and we were transported in Italy, to the border of Italy, we traveled a whole day, about 11 hours in a minibus. There was a policeman and a civilian, both armed. So they took us to the closest city, closer to the Italian border, very close to Trieste, the first city in Italy. So we had to sign in, and they put us in jail in the police station, and we had to stay overnight. So it was by now 7 of us that slept in a room which is 4.5 feet by 10 feet. So imagine how you draw those lines on the floor and see how can you fit 7 people laying down. Of course, we couldn't sleep. The dogs were next door to us because that was the place they would hold the dogs. They barked at us all night. Anyway, in the morning, the police came, the guardians from the jail came, and 3 of us were taken, and I never saw them. I don't know what happened. They were turned back to Romania, where they continued their journey. The 4 of us at 3 p.m. were taken off the cell, and we were crammed into a Volkswagen car, very small, those bugs. These guys were armed, and they took us about an hour drive on the top of the mountain. We were speaking among us, of course, in Romanian, because we wouldn't know another language back then. And we said that, this is the end of us. I mean, nobody's here with us. Nobody can protect us. The papers that we do the jail time, they took it from us, from our pockets. They broke them away and throw them. So we had no proof who we are and what we do there. So after about an hour drive, they stopped on the top of the mountain. There was no dirt road, no asphalt. They stopped and they said, come out. So one of them took their gun, and we were just staring at them, not knowing what would be the next step. So one of the guy drew a line with his foot on the ground, and he said, Yugoslavia, Italia. And then the next word, Berge. That means move fast, or what we understood. So the minute we start walking, we were kind of peeking behind to see if they don't pull their gun and shoot us. So we continue to walk and just look back, look, and all of a sudden we see 4 dogs, about that tall, coming towards us. And we realized we're in danger anyway. So fearing those dogs, 4 of us start to run back to the officers. And they pulled their gun, they said, go. And I remember saying that it's better to be bitten by a dog than shot by an officer. So we continued, and we realized, we had so much fear in that moment. Those dogs belonged to an Italian owner that was living on the borderline, and he used them for protection. And they were under a fence, but because of the fear we had, we didn't even see the fence. Anyway, we passed that point. This is another miracle that I want to, and then I'm going to close. We started to walk. It was 4 of us, the 3 of us that we started, and then another boy with us from the group from jail. So we started to walk for about 50 yards, and then the road would turn towards the left. And we were thinking, how can we find the camp for strangers in Italy? Where do we go? What we're going to do? And the minute I was thinking that, all of a sudden we saw a man in front of us. He was dressed in a black suit with a white shirt, no tie. And I go to him, what chances is for a man in Italy to speak Romanian? I just go to him, it's the only language I know. And I asked him, do you know how to get in the camp in Trieste? And he looked at me and said, I was sent to take you there. So he turned around, and all I saw is a man dressed up in a black suit with a white shirt, but a white that I'd never seen before and after that. That very, very white. Normal man. He spoke fluently Romanian. He would not talk to us unless we asked something, and he would answer it very shortly. He would walk about 10 feet away from us, and the 4 of us just followed the guy. He walked for 2 hours. We didn't talk to the guy, but very, very summer. Just a few expressions we changed, and that's it. At the time we reached the gate at the camp, now in Trieste at that time, this camp was holding about 7,000 people coming from the communist bloc, about 6 or 8 countries, I don't remember. It was packed with people that escaped from the communist bloc. So we get at the gate and we stay in line because there was a few people to sign up and be registered so we can get in and get a room, a bed, a towel, soap, toothbrush, toothpaste, whatever you needed. So all of a sudden I think, wow, somebody brought us here. I want to turn and thank you. And I looked around and I don't see the guy. And I asked my friends, where's that guy? And he said, I don't know. So I ran to the corner of the building and looked that way. I ran to the corner of the fence, looked that way, and I don't see the guy. I stayed there 5.5 months, and I almost every day asked different people, did you ever see a guy dressed like this? I have no clue what you're saying. So I let it to you to judge what it was, but it was again God guiding us. We stayed for almost 6 months. We received an affidavit of support, and after almost 6 months of stay in Italy, I arrived in Los Angeles, California on the 14th of February 1980, after over 6 months of traveling. What I'm trying to say, I'm looking at these young people that were born here. If you don't know the story of your parents, ask them. If you don't know why you are in America, ask your parents or grandparents. There's a story behind. You could have been in Romania in a different situation. But because someone sacrificed their life, you are here living in the United States. Always be thankful to God. And don't forget the roots of your family is Romania. There's plenty of mission work there. And I urge you to find time to go and visit Romania and be challenged by the missions that could be done there. All my testimony, I said it for the glory of God. We were only kids back then. Not by our strength, not by our knowledge, by the power of God. God turned an adventure that was in our minds and hearts to be a plan. And 39 years later almost, I look and I see God in everything He did. I praise His name for that, and I ask the Lord to bless each of us to look back and do not forget your story and your parents' story. May the Lord bless you all. Thank you.
Very interesting story. I think it's worth it, every word of it, right? And we're about to hear more of it. Brother Giluk, right? That's your name. You're invited to tell your testimony of how you made it to this country. May God bless you. Yeah.
First of all, I want to say that I'm going to speak a little bit in English, but my story will be in Romanian, so I kind of like try to balance everything. Because everything will be in English. The older people, maybe, I'm not saying the older people, most of the people know English. But first of all, I want to say that we are very, very blessed that we are in this country. And the younger generation, they don't know what the parents went through. They really don't. They cannot even imagine what they went through. But I'm just amazed how every one of us, the ones they cross the border illegal, they have their own unique story. So none of them are the same. I was the only one that I crossed the border. I didn't have a friend. I didn't have a brother. I didn't have anybody with me but the mighty God. Și acum vreau să vorbesc în românește. O să fie istoria poate mai scurtă ca lui Brother Aurel. Vreau să cuprind toate lucrurile și încerc, nu sunt vorbitor de obicei, nu predic, nu asta, dar cred că asemenea stories care le-am trăit personal, fiecare dintre noi care au trecut granița, sunt niște miracles al lui Dumnezeu, pot să spun așa. La 22 de ani, eu fac parte dintr-o familie de 10 copii, sunt al 3-lea din familie. La 22 de ani m-am căsătorit cu nevasta mea aici și lucram în Rădăuț. Mulți dintre dumneavoastră știți unde Rădăuț este, eram mașinist acolo și viața noastră de început a fost o viață grea, ca în comunism. Trebuia să începi viața cu, știu eu, să-ți faci o casă, să-ți faci familie, banii nu erau așa mulți, puțini, și mă duceam în fiecare zi la lucru, după masă, la 4:30 ieșeam de la lucru. În timpul ăla, dacă copiii care nu știu românește, vă rog să le translatați din cauza că e important ca să știe. Când ieșeam de la lucru la 4:30, I don't know if I can do this better as him, because he was 6 years earlier than me in here. So, by the way, he gave me the sponsor. He sponsored me. So life was really, really, really hard. I was getting off work, and at that time in 1980s, some of them remember, it was the food was on rations, right? And like half a kilo of cooking oil and a kilo of sugar, and that's about it. You know, everything has portions, and each person has to be on the list to be able to receive those. So it was my turn to go to the store right across the street from my factory where I was working, not mine, but there, the communist factory. So I was crossing the street to go and get my portion of the food, and it happens, like month after month after month, until one month, my older son was about 7 months old. So I received my portion of food, and I look at it, and I was really disappointed. I'm sorry. I thought to myself, I said, what future my family will have in this country? I was really, really frustrated, and I didn't know what to do. So I got home. I told my wife, I said, I cannot live in this country anymore. Our children has no future in this country. So I have to do something. So for the people, they know Sora Barbara from Sucevița. Some of the people know. I told my wife, I said, I'm going to go to the prophecy, and to the prophet, I'm going to ask God if it's the right way to think about leaving the country. So I went there with one of my friends, Dumitru Niculce, care is in Portland, Oregon. He came after a year after me, and we went there together, and we had the prophecy. And to him said, it's not time yet. To me says, I will be with you. You will go through the furious lions in front of you, which I kind of understand what that means. It was the guards, the borderline, and all that stuff. So I kind of like make sense to what she means. And she looked at us and she kind of like smiled. Said, I kind of know what you guys want to do. You want to cross the border, right? I said, oh no, we'll see about that. But your way, it's free. You go, because I'll be with you. That's what God says. I came home, I told my wife. It's kind of like some of the stories very similar with Brother Saurel, because it happens exactly the same. I thought to myself, if I'm going to tell Mom what I wanted to do, definitely 100% she'll go to the police and she's going to turn me in. So I did not say that. I said, I'm going to keep it as a secret. It's going to be just me and my wife. She knew all about it. But let's turn it back a little bit, because there's something very, very important. How God works in our lives. We was not even married at the time when she went to the prayers. I think it was Tuesday night at the church or something like that. Anyway. A couple years back, but it was in the Tuesday night, right? There was a prayers at Tuesday night, and then she has we didn't even date at the time. So you guys think about how God works. We did not even date. I knew her, but I wasn't interested in. So she got a prophecy at that time that she will be moved in another garden. The prophecy wasn't when and how. She just knew, and then one of the older sisters from the church, she said, "Oh, you might going to get married somewhere else in a different city, and you might going to go. It's going to be better for you. You're going to go from the village to the city and whatever." But it wasn't like that. So God's plans is totally different than we think. So sure enough, we knew we were neighbors, like 3 houses away from each other. So all of a sudden I was interested to date her. But God's plan is a way ahead of us. A way ahead. He knows everything about us. So we got married, and then let's get back to the story. We got married, and then we had the first child, Florin. He's like 32, 33 years old now. And I just came home from work and said, hey, look, I got to do something, because, you know, the way it is right now in Romania and the situation it is, especially that I knew that we were in the same class almost. I was in A and he was in B in the same school. So we kind of knew very, very well each other. And I knew that he crossed the borderline 6 years ago, and it moves me. So I decided to cross the borderline, knowing that God spoke to me and He told me that everything will be okay. Somehow, in a miracle way, my way will be open and everything will be good. I had some other friends that they asked me if I'm planning to cross the borderline. And I said, not yet. I'm not ready yet. I'm not interested. I know I have a good friend of mine that he was La Securitate, and I knew about it, and he was insisting so bad to tell him when I'm going to cross the borderline. I didn't tell him anything. So how are we going to proceed? Because I knew, like Aurel says, the border was very, very strict, very strict. If you would come from our side of the country to that side in Timișoara, that was a big deal. I mean, you just get off the train and the Granicheri, you know, the military was right there on you. And they kind of know the people. I don't know how, but they just travel through the train station, and they look at the people kind of like that, and you give me your documents, give me your identification card, give me that, give me that. So it happens exactly, but I mean, it's not my mind, but God put in my mind how should I do it. So I told my wife, I said, would you want to come with me in Timișoara? And she said, why? I said, you know, I kind of have a plan how I'm going to proceed, how I'm going to do it. And we went there. Sure enough, we got off the train. The Granicheri was right on us, and they sure asked us, where are you going? What's your plan? My plan was to get hired at the what you call that? La farm, yeah, a farm, cow farm. So we went there. It's a Timișoara, Cârpiniș, and then it's a Clarivi, and then it's Jimbolia. So I was coming through the train, and I look at the station of Clarivi. Clarivi was a small town, and there was a big farm, a communist farm, a cow farm. Me working at the cows, sure enough, yeah. So we went there. So I looked for the engineer that is in charge of the farm, and I wanted to talk to him. And yeah, he gave me, you know, the time to talk to him. I said, look, I wanted to be hired because I want to work at your farm. I'm coming from the other side of the country, he kind of like, look at me, look at my wife. You know, this is very close to the border. I mean, it was close. That thing, it's about half a kilometer from the road to the border. Yeah. And you know, there is a lot of people across the border from here. I said, don't give me that information because I'm sure enough interested in, but I didn't tell him that. So I said, no, I just want to work for you guys, and you know, I wanted to make some money and go back in my side of the country, and you know, to reform my family, to grow my kids. I want to be there. So what I wanted from him actually, it was to put my name on the paper, to give me a phone number and to give me his name. So I got that. After that, I took my wife. We traveled back home. And 2 days after that, we just got